2.5 flash image is a new image model from Google, which is definitely text to image, but it's more focused on the editing capabilities. And when I say editing capabilities, it's more like, okay, I have an image. I just want to give it a simple prompt to, okay, I like this image, just change the color of, let's say, shirt from red to orange or yellow or something. And it's just as simple as prompting with the given image, and it would simply change that one thing within the image and leave the rest of it as it is. So it's definitely simply it's a model, newest model from Google side, which is really great, and it's more for the editing workflows.
Yeah, so it's really important for those of us in the advertising industry, I think, this model, which is why we've certainly got so excited about it, right? Is because you've got this ability to be quite specific about what changes you're looking for and what specific requirements you have for any given image. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, so I think just considering this point, it's definitely a very good model for marketing use cases because
Yeah,
it's, you know, like this creative work with Gen AI image or video generation, it has always been to a point where there was still a lot of post-production needed, and yet again, like even with this model, or even with the new models coming in the future, it would still need some post production, but it's about the reduction of time on that post production, steps. So this definitely brings a lot of time reduction in that flow, and it's definitely going to be a lot valuable for marketing and, let's say, sales use cases.
yeah. And so just to dig into that then, what we're talking about is consistency of logos, consistency of pack shots, consistency of like apparel. Like, is it like a? Are we talking about a general ability to be more consistent across instances?
Yeah, so when I think to put it right, it's about consistent subjects, consistent logos, consistent characters, or consistent any part of the image itself. And this is, I think, this relates to what I was just kind of saying earlier. That if I have an image with a rocket flying, and the color of the rocket is, let's say, red, and I just want to change only the color of that rocket and not anything, and I just want to kind of change it to blue. So it's about keeping everything consistent and changing one aspect, or keeping one aspect consistent and changing everything else. So
Yeah.
it's kind of goes both the ways. And this is like how it's being currently served, I'd say.
Yeah, and because that's often been a challenge, I think, in the advertising world, is that you do have to be very specific about these details, right? Like that's the most important thing. If we're talking about, like a beverage, let's say, it has to look a certain way because that's the way the whole organization has conceived of this drink or this food item. It's really important that that's consistent time over time over time, right? And that has been a challenge with AI content in the past. So is that a challenge now that you think is solved, or do you think that we're like 90% of the way to solving?
I'd say for enterprises specifically, we are still like around 85 to 90% there. So the
Okay.
product or subject and like all the any kind of, let's say, product ability is really good. But when it comes to labels, I'd say, because when, if you're talking about the enterprises, they want their product to be pitch perfect with every
Yeah.
label, every text, every element to be like how they have planned it to be. And when with this, we are still, I think, 85 to 90% there, but it still needs though that touch of label change or making sure everything is correct from text perspective. But I really see like this is a good stepping stone toward that's going to be way sooner, where we not we don't or we would not have to worry about these things as well. There are definitely some ways to go around it. If you're giving a, let's say, a product reference. I have a
Mm.
blender which has a logo and the brand name and all the text on top of it as well. So it's it would still work, but you want to give maybe higher quality images and maybe like more than one. Ideal, what we have tested is three. If you give three image references, high quality ones, it's going to still perform way better. But even then, you'll see like there would be some issues with smaller text, smaller things, which needs to be tweaked later on. But yeah, I'd like in a summary, it's still like I think 10 to 15% not there yet.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm just hoping with with newer models coming in the industry, it's going to change a lot and it's going to reach to 95, 99%.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, look, if you think back to how far we've come only in the last like 2 years, it's insane. What the, like when I first started making videos about AI, which was about 2 years ago, I think, before I even started at Pencil, or, making videos on YouTube, like the image generation was very broad. Like I made a piece of art for my wall, which was like a pomegranate tree in the style of a famous artist, I think Monet, and it looked amazing, right? And we put it on the wall, but there was no way that you could get any kind of specific details. It was like it was a vibe. It was not a specific artwork
Specific,
in
yeah.
yeah, no degree of specificity at all. And like the Will Smith eating spaghetti right on the video models
Yeah.
looks nothing like it. We've come so far just in 2 years. These models are so much better. I do feel like it's going to be solved very soon. And people who are getting really good at using the models now are going to be so far ahead of those that are still working in the traditional way in like a year's time when they are perfect. If you've got a marketing team who are all AI native and they're just working in the AI tools, maybe there's a few pieces of flagship content being made in real life, but primarily everyone's working in the tools. They're going to be so far ahead of like a traditional marketing team or agency team in a year's time because they're going to be able to do
Yeah,
anything and it's going to look perfect.
no, I think definitely. And it's not just about, um, they're going to be ahead in time. It's more about the cost saving part as well. Like if you just consider a very well managed, maybe a product shoot or a product video shoot, it's used to cost like, I don't know, thousands of dollars. And now you can just simply
Yeah,
generate. I don't know if maybe I can relate to some of our internal discussions, but I don't know if you remember that the launch of Nano Banana, we just
yeah,
generated that same social post with I don't know, like with 5 minutes of prompting, and it worked
yeah,
out really good. And then
yeah,
like
yeah,
consider it an old-fashioned way where there's a designing team. They would sit, brainstorm the idea, and come up with revisions, and then you put it. Oh, this is really cool. And now all of this whole process is being done in what, like 5 minutes max for somebody who knows AI, who knows how to prompt best, and who knows
yeah,
which model to use for what use case. So
yeah,
I think yeah, we definitely come like a long way, and like in future, like I personally believe the progress we have made in 2 years, it's maybe like matter of few months that we'll just maybe double that and eventually reach to a point where it's even more powerful.
yeah, 100%. I'll just say now quickly, for anyone watching, I see we've got viewers coming in. We've got a bunch of people watching now. If you do have questions for Ali on uh, Gemini, Flash Image 2.5, Nano Banana, or really anything else to do with image generation, I think it would be fair to say, drop them in the comments on LinkedIn, and we will leave some time for a Q&A at the end. But look, you mentioned people who know how to use these tools, right? Like if you know how to use it, you can get this stuff done in 5 minutes. Do you think that, like, what's the best way to access them? Because a lot of AI professionals will be building like automations using the API. They'll be, creating stuff themselves. Obviously, you can use a lot of this via Gemini or AI Studio. Of course, we're biased in that we're, you know, work for Pencil, right? So we would
Yeah.
suggest that people use Pencil to access them. But just in terms of the difference between building stuff on the API and like prompting in a tool like Pencil or in Gemini, what are the big differences? And do you think that there is a natural advantage for people who are making API calls directly, or does it really matter?
Yeah, I think if you just put it right, considering people who are using like APIs directly, they just have definitely more custom control. They can write whatever they want to, create whatever they want to on top of that API. That's definitely an advantage. But if you just kind of consider talking it from a marketing team's perspective or any bigger team perspective, they like I think I mentioned earlier as well, like maybe one model could be good for one thing, another could be good for another thing. So, again, like not upselling directly with Pencil here, but having these platforms like Pencil as a platform where we are aggregating all the best models, all the best, I would say specific models for specific use cases and a lot of other things in the platform as well. It's more of that cohesive environment where you do one thing with one model, maybe the post part or the later part, maybe you generate an image with Imagine 3 and then kind of edit it with Nano Banana and then maybe start using it to create video using VO3. So with platform like Pencil, it's kind of easier to put it in the whole workflow. And considering from an API perspective, there's no specific advantage or disadvantage. That it's just that Pencil is using the APIs directly anyways. So we
Yeah.
have the same stuff, but just kind of plus point of having a lot of other things on the platform as well. And if somebody who's just using an API directly, they'll have to do everything on their own to kind of first maybe club a lot of things to then eventually reach to a point which they can kind of achieve with Pencil or any aggregator platforms.
Excellent. So I want to talk briefly about watermarking because I know that's a big feature that we're excited about and that Google have been talking about a lot. Watermarking images. I think it's an interesting. I think it's an interesting philosophical point generally, right? This idea that we should be watermarking AI images so that you know we can, as a species, understand what's real and what isn't,
That's
right?
yeah.
So could you like just tell me a bit about like what do we mean by when we talk about watermarking on AI images, and why is it important from a business standpoint?
Yeah. I think and just to kind of continue your point, you already like have touched this point that considering these models coming up, it has the line between, okay, it's an AI generated or a natural human, let's say, I don't know, shot created or something. The line is becoming like thinner with every new model coming in,
Yeah,
which means it has already starting to kind of um, confuse a lot of people on social media. Oh, is it an AI generated one? Is it
yeah,
real image? Or it's a real video, or is it AI generated one? So I think digital watermarking or any kind of watermarking is like a really important part. And I think Google launched this synth ID, and with the Nano Banana, they are kind of digitally watermarking every generated image. So there are definitely two types of watermark. I would say one is a very visual one. Once you generate an image, you can see a specific watermark on an image. And the second is that digital watermarking, which you cannot see on an image, but eventually any, let's say, I don't know, any platform through Synth ID, they can just figure out, okay, is this an AI generated or is this a real image? So,
yeah,
it would play a huge role in keeping the barrier between AI generated and non-AI generated. And
yeah,
and the whole reason is not about kind of significantly or specifically saying that these things are apart. AI generated images and videos, they're really great, and I think they're adding a lot of value. But it's always good to know, okay, this is an AI, this is not an AI kind of
yeah,
situation.
yeah. And so, I literally don't know here. So when we're talking about invisible watermarks, is it like it's a protocol so that if I was building if I was building a new Instagram, right, and I wanted to build a tool that told you whether it's AI or not, when my platform reads the image, it can see whether it came from an AI or not. Is it like is it like metadata
Yeah.
basically?
Yeah. It's just like, yeah, you can just consider it a metadata, but embedded right in the image itself. So
Right.
it's just, I think, maybe a better way of figuring out an image on a pixel level that, okay, this is an AI one, this is not an AI one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe
And
again, like I'm also not the expert in this, but this is how I have read it. I have been kind of seeing how it has been working. I think maybe somebody who has more knowledge on digital watermarking can definitely explain it in much better way. But yeah, this is the whole crux of digital watermarking and kind of making sure that the future is more about clearly seeing what's AI and what's not AI.
yeah. And I think it's an important distinction now because you're right. You know, I look on social media ads and at real, you know, like videos and pictures, and you can't tell now if it's real or not. Like we were talking about one of our case studies recently on this stream with Harriet Beaumont, our colleague. We were looking at some of the images that her and her creative team had generated, and I was saying, you know, it's pictures of shoes. Yeah, and I was saying, look, there's no way I could tell that this isn't a real photograph of a shoe. You know, like I've got no idea. Like if you hadn't told me, if it wasn't on the Pencil website saying, look at this amazing AI picture of a shoe, like I would have no idea if it was AI or not. And I guess for advertising, it probably doesn't matter as much in a philosophical sense because you kind of assume that any ad that you're looking at has been like photoshopped, right? You assume that it's not the exact photo anyway. You assume that there's going to be a load of effects put on it, especially if it's a high-end ad. You
Yeah.
assume that they maybe took a photograph and then they've done loads of stuff to it since before it goes on the billboard. But I think in, you know, news and the real world, the difference between a photograph and an AI generated image could be like big new, like, you know, it
Big.
could be massive, right? So it's going to be an important thing to get right for society, I
Yeah,
think.
I think if I just add to it, this is just my personal experience. I'd say that maybe, I don't know, a few months back, it was still easier to say, oh, it's an AI lookish image or a
Yeah,
video, and
yeah,
we could figure it out.
yeah,
But now with these newer models coming in, sometimes honestly, I'm like, let's say my role is about being a product manager in image and video,
yeah,
and me seeing a lot of videos, I sometimes have to double see it or figure out, oh, it's is it a real one or just like an AI generated one. So,
yeah,
and I think, and again, like I'm not an expert with this, so I think people with expertise could still figure out. But like with newer releases, newer models or newer ways coming out, it's definitely going to be really difficult to kind of differentiate on the non-AI and the AI generated ones.
yeah. Okay, we've got a couple of questions in. First one is from Anna, who's a friend of the show by now. She's putting questions in every week, so great to see you again, Anna. Thanks for joining us. Anna says, "Good morning. Regarding watermarking, how will it identify? Sorry, I can't speak. How will it identify partial AI in photos or enhancements?" So I don't know whether that's something that you're going to be able to answer, but if there's, yeah, partial AI additions, so I guess, you know, probably the most common way for that to happen would be generating an image from an image, right, from a source image. But is there any way, as far as you understand?
I think maybe I'm not the best suited to answer this, but I think there would definitely be, because even when we are, let's say, talking about changing a very specific element within an image, it still passes through that. Okay, we give an image and then passes through that AI flow and then gives the final output. I think definitely it would be, but I don't know, like I don't know like how this partial and fully AI is going to be differentiated. I think
Yeah,
if the framework has already been kind of started to develop in this way, I think there is definitely going to be more nuance to it that okay, it's a fully AI generated or it's a partially AI generated or it just has been AI edited. I think this there is a lot of potential to kind of maybe this also coming out and eventually being part of this whole framework.
Excellent. All right, so we've got another question. I hope that was a good enough answer, Anna. We it's something that we're going to be spending a lot of time with. I think the digital watermarking. I think really ultimately the true answer is going to really be dictated by how you're defining partial AI. There's going to be lots of there's you could go all the way from one half of the image is AI and the other half is a photograph, all the way to generated from a source image and anything in between. So the idea of the concept of what an image actually is probably, and I'm going to get philosophical again here, but the idea of what a picture even is, I think, is going to be entirely reimagined over the next few years. Next question is from Anne Robb, who's a marketing consultant and Google trainer and a LinkedIn certified marketing insider. So, very highly qualified consultant there. Anne, thanks for joining us. So, Anne is a sole entrepreneur in marketing who's thinking of subscribing to Pencil. Obviously, we would say definitely do.
Definitely.
Um,
Yeah.
so, um, so the question is: Are we always do we always have the most latest version, like GPT-5, and are there limitations on usage? Also, does Pencil educate you on the best model for a task? So, I mean, I promise anybody else watching, I promise Anne it's not a plant because that's a perfect question for us. But Ali, do you want to take that? So, latest versions, obviously, Nano Banana's one of them, and then Pencil educating on the best model for a task.
Yeah, I think maybe I'll just break it into two parts. The first part is like are we always up to date? Definitely that's the goal with us at Pencil, that whenever the new models comes up, or let's say an old model has a newer version, so our kind of task is to kind of integrate it as soon as possible. So we're definitely working towards it, and like we have like I think from past we have started to reduce this time further. So with Nano Banana, I don't know, like it took us, I don't know, 2 to 3 days. The future releases could, the whole idea is to kind of integrate these newer models, newer versions as soon as possible. We do run this for I would say like for older models which just got a version upgrade, we do run a quick feedback check with the creative users to figure out, okay, is it there yet from a quality perspective, and then just maybe like get back to the provider to give the feedback back and then eventually integrate it. But yeah, for the newer models, definitely state of the art. Our aim is to make them available as soon as possible. And I think if you see the like the model list for image or videos in Pencil, you'll see we have pretty much all the latest models. And but Pencil at Pencil we try to make sure that these models are enterprise safe, and there are no copyright issues and all that. So you might see not see a lot of models here and there, but that just means that either they have issues on copywriting, or second, we are working towards integrating with the bespoke specific legal terms so that whoever uses it on the Pencil, it's safer for them, and eventually they don't kind of get into issues later on. And I think
Mm.
um, just to kind of quickly confirm the second part, Tom, it was about
It was
sorry.
about training, about whether we. So I'll just quickly jump in on your just on that last point about integrating the latest models, just to briefly plug the team for spinning up GPT-5 so quickly. So we had GPT-5 launched, I think, on a Thursday evening, and by Monday morning it was live on the platform. So you can we move. We're increasingly like we're accelerating. I think we put on the latest post about Nano Banana. AI is not slowing down. We're not either. So the team, Ali's team and the engineering team, much more so than me as a lowly marketeer, are moving super quickly on on this, and I think it's because it's such a fast moving industry and because it's such a hype industry as well. I think people in marketing, they want to use the best models quickly. And so that's the great thing we think about having a pencil subscription, is that you're not having to bounce around going to, when OpenAI launch a new model, going and getting your account set up and then going somewhere else to, going over to Google when they launch a new model. It's all in one place, and so we integrate those models very quickly because we understand that it's very important for our customers to get access to those super quick. And then yeah, on training, I'll hand over to you in just a second, Ali. But one other point that I need to do is plug our training team, and we've got lots coming up on that. There's going to be people from the training team joining me on this stream to talk about exactly what we are doing with that. But suffice it to say, it's a big part of the business here at Pencil, and so yes, we work very hard on working with our customers to educate them on the best workflows and models. Anything else that you want to add to that, Ali?
Yeah, I think the very first thing that I would say, just shout out to the training team that we have at Pencil. I think
Yeah,
you've already
100%.
covered that they will be part of these streams eventually. And just to kind of add, so the training team is about one, providing full-fledged detailed training to the customers. That's like one part. And the second is whenever we're trying to kind of launch new models, new features, they also help put out the content and put out the training, maybe help articles and all that to make sure that it's kind of easier to understand, okay, what model does what best. If I just do it from the product perspective itself, maybe I'd say we were not the best in this, but we are still definitely working towards it. We have started to add these model descriptions which explain, okay, which model does good at best, okay, which is the newest model, and these kind of scenarios. And I think we definitely have a lot of things in the roadmap eventually to kind of make it very easier for users coming on Pencil to figure out, okay, this model works good for this thing, and they start um, eventually using that model for, let's say, one of the use case, or another model, or a model second model for a different kind of a use case. So there is a lot of work going on behind the scenes for this, which I think would be very soon out, and then it's definitely going to be a lot more valuable.
Excellent. All right. Well, look, we're getting close to time. So thanks so much for your questions, Anna and Anne. Two Anns almost. So, Ali, before we go, is there anything else that you want to say about this model that people should know, that they should be excited about, that they can go and jump into Pencil today and start testing? Anything that we haven't covered so far today that you think is important?
Yeah, I think I will just kind of highlight the main features of this model so that at least maybe I can try to link it with the use cases. One is definitely an image generation. It's way faster than other models, and it has way more prompt adherence as compared to other models. And the second part is there is a lo- there's a big use case of people trying to add subjects, characters, or products and then generate them in a different scenarios. Let's say I have, I don't know, this the cell phone where I want to kind of create an ad around it, and in a very specific setting. This model is as far the best that works with these scenarios. So we already have a compose section where you can add a product image, a 2D image, like a PNG of any specific product or a subject or a character. Or even you can talk to agents, giving them this reference image and ask it to generate, this specific subject or a product in a specific setting. It would do really good. And then coming to the third part, it's about editing. How I was mentioning that you just have one image and you want to change one aspect of that image. Maybe at least with what I have tested, you can even change the text. You have one image which has, let's say, different elements of text, and you want to change one specific piece of text. It would actually adhere to the style of the text, and it would just update the text based on your prompt. So I think these three would be the best highlights for this model, and
Yeah.
I would definitely recommend this. to kind of test these within Pencil on this model.
100%. And the text one is such a big one. Like, I think that was one that I personally really thought not would never happen, but I thought it would take a lot longer than it actually did to get text right because you know it's not like you're there's like a text layer like you would have in Photoshop or something, or in
Yeah,
Pencil. Indeed, it's not like a layer, it's generating the text like probabilistically as it's generating everything else. So to have that degree of fidelity and specificity, like we said, I really didn't think they would get there, and it's amazing how quickly it has and how good it already is now. So yeah, I think that's a
I'll
great point.
definitely add, like we definitely have tested these cases. And somebody who has more control over this would definitely be able to do wonders with this, for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, awesome. Um, So I think that's it. Oh, we have one more follow-up question, which was about the training cost. So that will depend on the subscription, Anne. So yeah, if you head on over to the website, you'll see we've got different pricing tiers, and you can get in touch with us, and you can, yeah, it should all be there for you. If not, and if there's anything that you can't find, do feel free to drop me a DM on LinkedIn. You should be able to find me linked on this event, and I will do my best to help you. But hopefully everything should be there for you, and hopefully we'll look forward to welcoming you on board as a Pencil customer very soon. So great to see that you're considering us, and thanks so much for the questions.
Yeah, I
That
would
Oh,
just,
sorry, go on,
sorry,
Ali.
just add one thing that I would definitely suggest to reach out to the Pencil team, like either to the website or any of us. I think it would be really helpful, even if did you decide to become a part of Pencil or not. Eventually, it's going to be a lot valuable. So I would definitely suggest reaching out.
100%. Okay, can I just check, Ali? Can you still see me? Yeah, you can.
Now
Sorry,
I can. Yeah.
my screen went a bit funny. Cool. Okay. Well, look, that is it, everybody, for this week. Thanks so much for joining us once again. Remember, we are here every single Tuesday afternoon. The timings do move somewhere between 12 midday and about 2 p.m. That's because we're fitting with people's diaries. But Tuesday afternoon, every week, we're here on LinkedIn, on YouTube, talking about AI, talking about creative, talking about product, having the product managers who are building these tools every day on the stream, explaining to you how it works, as we've just been doing today. And we've got loads of really good stuff coming up. So make sure you're hitting the follow button on LinkedIn, hit the subscribe button on YouTube, and come back here and join us, because we love to hear from you and we love all of the questions that we get from the community. So thanks so much for joining us. Ali, thanks for jumping on. Appreciate you. Great to chat as always.
Thanks for having me. It was
Awesome.
nice
All
talking to
right,
you.
everybody. That's it for this week. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, everyone.